Did you know that Buddy Valastro, the cake boss, faced a life-changing accident that nearly ended his career? Let's dive into what really happened. For years, Buddy Valastro was the undisputed king of cakes. He was a TV icon who built a global empire on frosting and family. His laugh was infectious, his family's arguments were legendary, and his creations were edible masterpieces that seemed to defy gravity. He was the cake boss, the star of a reality show that turned a small, family-owned bakery in Hoboken, New Jersey, into a household name. Millions tuned in every week to watch Buddy and his chaotic, lovable family turn simple ingredients into unbelievable works of art. From life-sized race cars to shimmering chandeliers, it seemed like there was nothing he couldn't build. His hands were his fortune, insured for millions and celebrated by fans everywhere. At the height of his fame, Buddy Valastro was on top of the world, a TV star, a master baker, and a beloved family man. But while everyone saw the towering cakes and booming business, they missed the story of a devastating accident that nearly cost him everything. This is what you didn't see on TV, the shocking moment that almost ended his career and the quiet comeback he's been building ever since. To really get what Buddy almost lost, you have to go back to the beginning. Before the international fame and the TV cameras, there was just Carlo's Bake Shop, a neighborhood spot on Washington Street in Hoboken. The bakery was bought by Buddy's father, Bartolo Valastro Sr., back in 1964. For young Buddy, the bakery wasn't just a business, it was his whole world. He started working there when he was just 11, washing pots and pans to be close to his dad, a man he idolized. Buddy Sr. was a master baker who taught his son about family, tradition, and hard work. He dreamed of making Carlo's a household name, but he would never get to see that dream come true. In 1994, tragedy struck. Buddy Sr. passed away, and at just 17 years old, Buddy Jr. had to step up and take his father's place. It was a massive weight for a teenager to carry, but Buddy was driven by a promise he made to his dad, to make his dream a reality. He knew he had to do something different, something spectacular. He once said, "I wanted to be creative, and thought if I can make cakes that don't look like normal cakes, but taste the way my dad's cakes tasted, then I might be onto something." So, he started pushing the limits of what a cake could be, creating edible sculptures through sheer artistry and engineering. His ambition paid off. Word of his incredible cakes started spreading. In 2004, the Food Network invited him to compete in their Food Network Challenge. His competitive spirit and raw talent made him a standout, and soon, another network saw the potential for something even bigger. In 2009, TLC premiered Cake Boss, and the world was officially introduced to Buddy Valastro and his family. The show was an instant hit. It wasn't just about baking, it was a raw, funny, and deeply relatable look into a passionate, loud, and loving Italian-American family. You had Buddy, the charismatic boss, his 4 older sisters, Grace, Madalena, Mary, and Lisa, each with a fiery personality, and their husbands, who were all part of the family business. The arguments were constant, but underneath all the chaos was an unbreakable family bond. Viewers were hooked. They loved the drama, the family, and most of all, the cakes. Cake Boss turned Buddy Valastro from a local baker into a global celebrity. The show was a ratings machine, syndicated all over the world. Tourists flocked to Hoboken, lining up for hours just to get a taste of Carlo's bakery. The business exploded from a single shop into a sprawling empire, with new locations opening across the country and overseas. Buddy launched spin-off shows, wrote best-selling cookbooks, and developed his own line of baking products. He had fulfilled his father's dream 100 times over. He was on top of the world. But as anyone who's reached those heights knows, the fall can be swift and totally unexpected. Even at the peak of his fame, life wasn't always sweet for Buddy. The pressure of running a global brand while living your life on camera started to show. In 2014, the cake boss's family man image took a major hit when he was arrested for driving while impaired in Manhattan. It was a public fall from grace that shattered the perfect illusion. Buddy was deeply embarrassed and apologized publicly, taking full responsibility for his mistake. It was a humbling wake-up call, a reminder that anyone can stumble, but that public misstep, as jarring as it was nothing compared to the private disaster that was just around the corner. The event that would truly threaten everything he'd built didn't happen in a boardroom or on a TV set, but in the one place he should have been safe, his own home. On a Sunday in September 2020, Buddy was spending time with his family at their personal bowling alley. The pin setter malfunctioned, a common problem he'd fixed before. He went to clear the jam, just like he had in the past. But this time was different. As he was trying to fix it, his right hand, his dominant hand, the source of his entire career, got trapped in the mechanism. A 1.5-inch metal rod came down and impaled his hand between his ring and middle finger. He was stuck. He couldn't pull his hand out. And then, the machine cycled again. The rod drove through his hand a second time, and then a third. The pain was excruciating. For over 5 long minutes, he was pinned, watching in horror as his hand was crushed. His sons, Buddy Jr. and Marco, who were just teenagers, jumped into action. With a level of courage that's hard to imagine, they grabbed a saw and cut through the metal rod to free their dad. It was a heroic act that probably saved his hand, but the damage was already done. He was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery, followed by another surgery at the renowned Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. The job of piecing his hand back together fell to Dr. Michelle Carlson, a world-class orthopedic surgeon. Things looked grim. Nerves, tendons, and muscles were destroyed. The man who could pipe the most delicate designs with an icing bag couldn't even feel his own fingers. The irony was just cruel. Buddy Valastro, the cake boss, whose entire livelihood depended on his hands, had suffered a catastrophic injury to his most valuable asset. The news sent a shockwave through the culinary world. But for Buddy, lying in a hospital bed, the question wasn't just if he would bake again, but if he'd ever be able to properly use his hand at all. The empire he had spent a lifetime building was suddenly in serious jeopardy. The months that followed the accident were a blur of pain and uncertainty. For a guy who was always on the move, being unable to do anything was torture. For the first 6 months, he could barely use his right hand. Simple things we all take for granted, like buttoning a shirt or holding a fork, became huge challenges. "I can hold a fork like a little kid would," he said in an interview, showing just how much function he'd lost. The physical pain was one thing, but the mental toll was something else entirely. His hands were more than just tools, they were his identity, his connection to his father, and the foundation of his legacy. The fear that he might never decorate a cake again was always there. He confessed his deepest anxieties, saying, "My hands are everything to me. Without my hands, in the decorating world, I'm nothing." The journey back was anything but a straight line. It was a painful road filled with 5 different surgeries, each one followed by months of intense and frustrating physical therapy. A TLC special, Buddy Valastro, Road to Recovery, showed a vulnerable side of the baker that the public had never seen. He had to relearn the most basic movements, training his muscles and nerves to work again. There were days filled with doubt, moments when he wondered if he could ever truly come back, but Buddy Valastro is a fighter. The same drive that pushed a 17-year-old to take over his family's business was now focused on his recovery. He refused to be defeated. His family, his wife Lisa and their 4 kids, were his rock. His kids, who had been his rescuers, were now his inspiration to keep pushing. Slowly but surely, he started making progress. After one critical surgery to repair damaged tendons, he started to regain real mobility. It was a breakthrough, a light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. He even started practicing his craft with his left hand, determined to adapt no matter what. He showed up to every therapy session, pushing through the pain, and celebrating every small victory. The accident forced him to reevaluate everything. He gained a new appreciation for his skills, admitting he'd taken them for granted. The crisis also forced him to delegate and trust his team and family in a way he never had before. He had to shift from being the hands-on creator to being a true CEO and mentor. It was a tough change for a guy used to being in complete control, but it was necessary. By late 2023, more than 3 years after the accident, Buddy announced his hand was about 95% recovered. He joked, "Thank God, I don't think I'm going to be a hand model," but the relief in his voice was obvious. He had faced the worst and pulled himself back. The accident that nearly ended his career had, in a strange way, given him a new perspective. Buddy Valastro wasn't just the cake boss anymore, he was a survivor. And he was ready for his next chapter. Buddy's journey of resilience is a powerful reminder that our biggest challenges can lead to our greatest transformations. His story isn't over yet, and if you're finding his comeback as inspiring as we are, make sure to subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss the incredible stories we have coming up. Now, let's get back to how the cake boss didn't just recover, he reinvented himself and his entire empire. After everything he'd been through, many wondered if Buddy Valastro would ever really return to the spotlight. But the truth is, he never left. He just evolved. The man who came out of that crisis was different, more mature, more thoughtful, and with a new sense of purpose. He wasn't just building cakes anymore, he was building a legacy. In November 2023, Buddy officially returned to television, but not with a Cake Boss reboot. Instead, he launched 2 brand new series on A&E. The first, Legends of the Fork, shows him traveling the country to celebrate iconic American restaurants and explore their stories. It's a passion project that showcases his love for all food, not just sweets. The second, and more personal, show was Buddy Valastro's Cake Dynasty. The title alone tells you everything. This wasn't just about a boss, it was about a dynasty. The show presents a more mature Buddy, a patriarch guiding his business into the future. The focus is now on succession. Viewers get to see Buddy preparing the next generation to take over. His 4 children, who were just kids when Cake Boss started, are now young adults stepping into bigger roles, learning the business from the ground up. Just like Buddy did, the show feels more real than its predecessor, diving into the messy reality of mixing business and family. You see Buddy teaching his kids about work ethic, balancing tradition with new ideas, and handling the pressures of an expanding empire. He's no longer just the star decorator, he's the mentor and the father, building something that will last long after he's gone, and the business has definitely expanded. The accident may have changed Buddy's role, but it didn't slow his ambition. He pivoted his strategy, recognizing that the world had changed. While the Hoboken bakery is still the heart of it all, the focus shifted from opening dozens of storefronts to more strategic growth. This new era for Carlo's Bakery includes a huge push into e-commerce, shipping cakes nationwide from a massive factory in New Jersey. He struck a landmark partnership with Walmart for a line of Everybody's cakes available in thousands of stores. He even rolled out Carlo's Bakery cake vending machines in airports and casinos, bringing his famous cakes to people 24/7. Today, the empire includes 14 bakeries, multiple restaurants, and over 75 of these cake ATMs. He has also expanded into the food service industry, and with plans reportedly in the works for a new pizzeria venture in Las Vegas, his ambition clearly isn't slowing down. His role has fundamentally changed. While he can still decorate with incredible skill, a true testament to his recovery, he now spends more time on the big picture. He's letting go of the piping bag more often, not because he has to, but to let the next generation find their own way. The story of Buddy Valastro is a classic American tale of rise, fall, and redemption. He built an empire from scratch, fulfilled his father's wildest dreams, and became a global icon. He brought cake decorating into our living rooms and made his loud, loving family feel like a part of our own. But his journey was no fairy tale. It was hit by public mistakes, deep personal loss, and a horrific accident that threatened to take away the one thing that defined him. So, what happened to the cake boss? He was tested, broken, and forced to rebuild. That freak accident in his bowling alley was more than just a physical injury, it forced him to completely reevaluate his life and his career. Through unimaginable pain and 5 surgeries, he fought his way back, not just to use his hand again, but to reclaim his future. Today, Buddy Valastro isn't the same guy from the height of cake boss mania. He's a more thoughtful leader, a more intentional father, and a smarter entrepreneur. He has transformed Carlo's Bakery from a TV set into a modern food empire. More importantly, he has shifted his focus from being the star of the show to being the director of a dynasty, preparing his children to carry on the Valastro legacy. His new show, Cake Dynasty, perfectly captures this change. It's a story about resilience, family, and the wisdom you can only get by surviving the fire. The cake boss didn't disappear. He didn't fade away. He faced what could have been the end of his career and chose to build something stronger. He's still the baker from Hoboken, but now, he's building an empire with a renewed purpose, proving that sometimes, the most painful breaks lead to the sweetest comebacks.